For 3 millennia, a whisper has echoed through history, a structure built by human hands yet seemingly impossible. A marvel of engineering, dwarfing wonders like the pyramids constructed without a single modern tool. A place where 27 tons of pure gold vanished into its walls and 400-ton stones were moved with no sound. This isn't just a building. This is the Temple of Solomon, and today we unlock its impossible secrets. Our story begins 3,000 years ago with King Solomon. His father David, a warrior king, had unified Israel. But Solomon had a grander vision. He sought not just to rule, but to build a monument to his God. A structure so magnificent it would stand as the literal dwelling place of the divine on earth. This wasn't just ambition, it was a sacred calling. But there was a problem. Solomon's plan wasn't just big, it was astronomical. Imagine 150,000 men toiling for 7 relentless years. Not just any men, but the finest artisans, engineers, and laborers from across his empire. Now think about the materials. Forget brick and mortar. We're talking about vast quantities of precious cedars from Lebanon, imported across mountains and seas. And then there's the gold. More than 27,000 kilograms of pure, unadulterated gold. To put that in perspective, at today's prices, that's roughly $2 billion in gold, just for the interior finish. But the true impossibility wasn't the gold or the wood. It was the stone. The foundation alone required colossal blocks. Imagine a single stone weighing 400 tons. That's like trying to move 60 full-grown elephants. Today, with hydraulic cranes, laser guides, and powerful machinery, moving such a monolith is a monumental task. Back then, they had no wheels, no iron tools at the site, no combustion engines. How did they even begin to get these stones from the quarry to the sacred mountain? And here's where the mystery truly deepens, where the whisper of the impossible becomes a deafening silence. Ancient texts describe the construction site itself, not as a cacophony of hammers and chisels, but as a place of profound quiet. No hammer, no axe, nor any tool of iron was heard in the house while it was being built. No clanging, no shouting, no sounds of brutal labor, just the precise, meticulous placement of stone upon stone. This wasn't just an oversight, it was a divine decree. The temple was to be a dwelling for God, a place of peace and sanctity. The very act of cutting, shaping, and forging with iron was associated with war, violence, and human imperfection. It was considered profane, so every single stone, every single beam, every single piece of ornamentation had to arrive at Mount Moriah perfectly pre-cut, pre-finished, and ready for silent assembly. But how? How do you cut and shape a 400-ton stone perfectly miles away and ensure it fits flawlessly without a single adjustment on site? The answer lies not on the sacred mountain, but deep within the unforgiving rock quarries miles away. Here, far from the hallowed ground, the real battle began. Thousands of skilled laborers, not just brute force but master craftsmen, toiled under a system that predated modern manufacturing by millennia. They used techniques so ingenious, so precise that modern engineers still marvel at their simplicity and effectiveness. Imagine this: no diamond saws, no explosives. Instead, they drilled small, shallow holes into the bedrock. Into these holes, they carefully inserted dry wooden wedges. Then, with painstaking patience, they poured water over these wedges. As the water absorbed into the dry wood, the wedges began to swell slowly, but with unstoppable force. The pressure built, accumulating for hours, sometimes days, until with a deep, resonant crack, the massive stone would split cleanly along a predetermined line. Precision powered by nature itself. This was just the first step. But a perfectly cut 400-ton stone in a remote quarry is still a 400-ton stone. How do you move something so immense across treacherous terrain without a single wheel or engine and ensure it arrives at the temple site in perfect condition, ready for its silent ascension? This was a logistical nightmare that would stump even modern construction firms. And it's the next puzzle we're about to solve. The stone is cut, it is perfect, but it weighs 800,000 pounds. To move it just 1 inch requires a force that would snap modern steel cables. To move it miles across the rugged Judean hills seems like madness. Solomon didn't have the luxury of paved roads or hydraulic trailers. He had something else: a mastery of physics and an unlimited supply of disciplined, coordinated human power. They didn't use wheels. Wheels would have crumbled under this weight. Instead, they used linear bearings of the ancient world. Giant trunks of cedar and cypress were stripped of their bark and coated in animal fat to reduce friction. The stone was placed on a massive wooden sled. As the men pulled, the rollers at the back were constantly moved to the front. It was a slow, agonizing crawl, sometimes moving only a few dozen feet a day. But to keep these slumbering giants moving, they built something even more impressive. Massive earthen ramps, some hundreds of feet long, to level the terrain. While the stones moved on land, an even greater logistical feat was happening at sea. Solomon struck a deal with King Hiram of Tyre. The legendary cedars of Lebanon, prized for their resistance to rot and their divine fragrance, were cut down in the mountains, dragged to the coast and tied together into massive sea rafts. These wooden islands were floated hundreds of miles down the coast to the port of Joppa, then hauled up the steep climb to Jerusalem. The air in the city began to change, smelling of fresh resin and ancient forests. But remember the rule: silence. How do you ensure a stone cut 10 miles away fits perfectly with a cedar beam brought from 200 miles away? This is where the genius of the architect's cipher comes in. Every single piece was marked with a unique code, a precursor to modern prefabricated construction. Archaeologists have found these mason marks on ancient foundations. Each stone had a specific address in the wall. When the stone arrived at the site, the master builder didn't need a chisel. He only needed to check the mark. To manage this, Solomon created one of the first true bureaucracies in history. This wasn't a disorganized mob of slaves. It was a structured workforce. 300 supervisors, or menachim, were responsible for the precision of the work. If a stone was off by even a fraction of an inch, it was rejected at the quarry, not the site. This level of quality control is something we associate with aerospace engineering today, yet they achieved it with plumb bobs and string. But ancient legends, tales passed down through the Talmud, suggest an even more mysterious secret to the silence. They speak of the shamir, not a tool of iron, but a legendary worm or substance that could cut through the hardest stone as a knife cuts through silk. Was the shamir a lost ancient technology, a biological acid, or merely a metaphor for a technique we have forgotten? As the foundations are laid in eerie quiet, we prepare to enter the most expensive part of the build, the golden transformation. The skeleton of stone and cedar is complete, but Solomon is far from finished. Now begins the most extravagant interior design project in human history. We are entering the golden phase. Imagine walking into a building where every single square inch, the floor you walk on, the walls surrounding you, and the ceiling high above, is encased in solid, shimmering gold. This wasn't gold paint or gold leaf, this was beaten gold. Craftsmen took those 27 tons of gold and hammered them into thin, durable plates. Because gold is incredibly malleable, they could stretch it over the intricate carvings of the cedar wood underneath. Why wood? Because gold doesn't stick well to stone. The cedar acted as a living anchor for the divine metal. At today's market value, just the metal in this room would be worth over $2 billion. The walls weren't just flat gold. They were a golden forest. Solomon ordered the walls to be carved with figures of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. This wasn't just decoration, it was a reconstruction of the Garden of Eden. The palm trees represented life and victory, while the flowers symbolized the blooming of the divine presence. When the lamps were lit, the flickering flames against the polished gold created an illusion of movement, a shimmering golden paradise frozen in time. Guarding the entrance stood two bronze titans, Jachin and Boaz. Standing nearly 27 feet tall and cast from solid bronze, these weren't just supports, they were statements. Jachin meaning he shall establish, and Boaz meaning in him is strength. They reminded every person who approached that this house didn't stand on the skill of 150,000 men, but on the strength of the eternal. The casting of these pillars was a feat of metallurgy that pushed the limits of the Bronze Age. In the courtyard sat the molten sea, a colossal circular basin that held over 10,000 gallons of water. Cast in one single piece of bronze, it was an engineering miracle. It rested on the backs of 12 bronze oxen, symbols of strength and service. The sheer weight of the water and the bronze would have crushed any ordinary foundation. This wasn't just for washing, it was a symbolic ocean, representing the washing away of the world's impurities before entering the presence of the holy. But as grand as the holy place was, there was one room even more exclusive. A perfect cube shrouded in total darkness, separated by a heavy ornate veil. Beyond this curtain lay the Holy of Holies, the epicenter of the universe for the ancient world. And inside it sat the most mysterious object in human history. As we prepare to cross the threshold, the silence returns. We are about to see the throne of the divine. Most people only see the gold and the glory, but the Temple of Solomon was also a feat of functional architecture. Surrounding the main sanctuary were 3 stories of hidden side chambers. These weren't for worship, they were the engine room of the kingdom. Built with a unique staggered design, where the walls grew thinner as they went up so the beams wouldn't pierce the sacred temple wall, these rooms held the secrets of Solomon's wealth. These chambers functioned as the world's first true central bank. Here the national treasury was stored. It wasn't just gold, it was a vast reserve of silver, fine linen, and liquid wealth like olive oil and incense. Because the temple was the most secure building on earth, guarded by elite Levite sentries and protected by the fear of divine wrath, it became the safest place for the nation's survival fund. If the inside was a quiet paradise, the outside was a bustling industrial operation. At the dedication, Solomon sacrificed 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. Imagine the logistics. To handle this, the temple had a sophisticated subterranean drainage system. Deep tunnels were carved into the rock of Mount Moriah to wash away the blood and water, ensuring the site remained ritually clean. This wasn't just religion, it was large-scale sanitation engineering. Inside the holy place, the light never went out. Solomon didn't just have one lampstand. He had 10 solid gold menorahs, 5 on the north and 5 on the south. Each one required the purest beaten olive oil. The cost of just the fuel to light this building for a year would rival the budget of a small city. Every morning and every evening, a precise ritual of maintenance took place, ensuring that the miniature sun of the interior never saw a shadow. But the temple wasn't just seen, it was heard. Solomon organized a permanent singing army of 4,000 musicians. Using the unique acoustics of the stone courtyard, these choirs created a wall of sound that could be heard throughout Jerusalem. They used instruments made of almug wood, a rare timber imported from Ophir that was said to produce a resonance unlike any other. It was the world's first high-fidelity surround sound experience. But below the gold and the music, deep within the belly of Mount Moriah lay a network of tunnels that even the king's advisors rarely entered. Tunnels that led to secret escape routes, water cisterns, and, as some legends claim, a hidden chamber designed to hide the Ark should the temple ever fall. These tunnels still exist today, a silent labyrinth beneath the city, and it's in these shadows that the first signs of the temple's tragic future began to emerge. Solomon's temple was a masterpiece, but it was also a burden. To maintain a structure built of 27 tons of gold and to support a workforce of thousands, the kingdom's taxes reached a breaking point. The gold that once represented divine favor was now becoming a symbol of economic strain. For the first time, the wisest man on earth faced a terrifying reality. The more you build, the more you have to lose. As Solomon aged, his diplomatic marriages of state brought more than just peace. His 700 wives and 300 concubines brought their own gods and their own architects. Slowly, the skyline of Jerusalem began to change. On the hills overlooking the temple of the one god, altars to Moloch and Chemosh began to rise. The exclusivity of the temple was being challenged, not by an invading army but by compromise from within the palace walls. Where did the gold keep coming from? To fund the temple's upkeep, Solomon launched a joint naval venture with the Phoenicians. Every 3 years, a fleet returned from the mysterious land of Ophir. Historians still argue today, was Ophir in India, Africa, or Arabia? Regardless of its location, the influx of wealth was so great that the Bible claims silver was as common as stones in Jerusalem. But this hyperinflation was the first crack in the foundation of the national economy. The peace didn't last. Shortly after Solomon's death, the ultimate test arrived. Pharaoh Shishak of Egypt saw the Golden Temple not as a house of God, but as a giant stationary bank. He marched his armies to the gates of Jerusalem. In a desperate move to save the city from destruction, Solomon's son, Rehoboam, did the unthinkable. He opened the treasury. This was the first great stripping. The 300 golden shields that Solomon had hung in the house of the forest of Lebanon were hauled away to Egypt. The external glory was being peeled back. The temple still stood, but its radiance was fading. The cedar was now exposed to the elements, and the miniature sun inside began to lose its luster. The engineering marvel was becoming a target for every empire in the ancient world. Solomon had been warned, "If you turn away, I will make this house a heap of ruins." The stones were still 400 tons and the silence was still heavy, but the spiritual battery was draining. The temple was no longer a fortress of faith, it was a museum of what used to be. And in the distance, a new power was rising in the east, a power that wouldn't just strip the gold but would turn the stones themselves back into dust. The year is 586 BC. The warning has become a reality. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon has arrived with a singular purpose: to erase Jerusalem from the map. For 18 months the city starves. Inside the temple, the singing army has fallen silent. The 400-ton stones that were moved in peace now tremble under the impact of Babylonian battering rams. What took 7 years to build is dismantled in days. The bronze pillars, symbols of strength and establishment, are broken into fragments. The molten sea, that 10,000-gallon miracle of engineering, is smashed. The soldiers rush into the holy place, their iron boots clattering on the golden floors that were once meant only for the bare feet of priests. They strip every remaining ounce of gold from the cedar walls, leaving the structure a skeleton of its former self. Then the fire. Because of the vast quantities of cedar wood and the stores of sacred oil, the temple becomes a furnace. The heat is so intense that the remaining gold melts, seeping into the very crevices of the stone foundations. To get to that gold, the Babylonian soldiers literally overturn the stones, fulfilling the prophetic warning that not one stone would be left upon another. The silent house ends in a roar of flame and the crash of falling monoliths. But here is the greatest mystery of all. When the Babylonians entered the Holy of Holies, what did they find? The historical records list every spoon, every bowl, and every pillar taken to Babylon. But the Ark of the Covenant is never mentioned. It isn't in the list of spoils. It isn't in the list of items destroyed. It simply vanished. Did the priests hide it in the labyrinth of tunnels we explored earlier? Was it taken to Ethiopia? Or did it simply cease to exist when the glory departed? For centuries, the exact location of Solomon's temple was lost to time. But today, the earth is speaking. In the debris shifted from the Temple Mount, researchers have found First Temple period artifacts, seals belonging to royal officials mentioned in the Bible, and arrowheads from the Babylonian siege. Each fragment is a pixel in a reconstructed image of a lost world. We are finding the physical proof that this impossible engineering actually existed. The gold is gone, the cedar is ash. The 400-ton stones have been recycled into the walls of other empires, but the footprint remains. The engineering of Solomon changed the way humanity thought about the space of the divine. It proved that we could use the laws of physics to touch the realm of the metaphysical. But as the smoke clears over ancient Jerusalem, a final question remains. If the temple was destroyed, where did the presence go? When the smoke finally cleared over Jerusalem, the world looked different. The miniature sun was extinguished. For the first time in generations, there was a void at the center of the nation. But history has a way of refusing to let a legend die. The 400-ton foundation stones were too heavy for the fire to destroy, and too massive for the Babylonians to carry away. They remained a silent, immovable witness to what had once been possible. Decades later, a new temple rose. It was grand in its own right, eventually becoming the architectural titan of Herod the Great. But for those who remembered Solomon's original masterpiece, it was never the same. The gold was thinner, the wood was different, and most importantly, the ark was gone. Yet the engineering principles Solomon pioneered, the silent assembly, the prefabricated stone, the acoustic perfection, became the blueprint for every cathedral, mosque, and synagogue that followed. Solomon's temple wasn't just a building, it was the birth of precision engineering. It taught us that when we combine the laws of nature with the limitlessness of human devotion, we can create something that even time cannot fully erase. We still use his modular techniques today. We still seek that perfect resonance in our concert halls. The gold may have been stripped, but the genius remains embedded in the very DNA of our civilization. Today, the search for Solomon's hidden chambers continues. Somewhere beneath the dust of modern Jerusalem, the Shamir and the Golden Ark may still be waiting to be found. If you want to be there when the next great discovery is revealed, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the stones have more stories to tell, and we're just getting started.